Welcome, everybody. We are so happy to have you here for our virtual Poetry Month celebration presented by Sundress Publications and the Sundress Academy for the Arts, which is a writer's residency and arts collective that hosts workshops, retreats, and residencies for writers in all genres, including poetry, fiction, nonfiction, journalism, academic writing, playwriting, and more. You can find out more about what we do in a link that I'm going to pop in the chat. This event is hosted courtesy of Sundress Publications. The land on which Sundress Publications operates is part of the traditional territory of the Salagi people, now Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, United Kiowa Band of Cherokee Indians, and the Sahoya peoples, Yuchi and Muskegee Creek. The poets for tonight's reading, which we're very excited to host, are Bess Cooley, Nora Hikari, Valerie A. Smith, Asa Drake, Stevie Redwood, and Tatiana Johnson-Boria. So welcome all of our readers and poets. We're excited to have you. And I'm going to start by introducing our first reader, Bess Cooley. Bess Cooley is the author of the poetry collection Florence, which was released last year from Sundress Publications. She is the winner of the Mississippi Review Poetry Prize, and her work has also appeared in Prairie Schooner, Western Humanities Review, American Literary Review, The Journal, and Verse Daily, among other journals. She is a co-founding editor of Peatsmoke Journal and teaches at the University of Tennessee. Welcome, Bess.
Thanks, Erin, and everyone for being here. I have an active dog in the background, so if you hear a lot of border collie barking, I apologize for that. She's a good girl. I have some poems that I want to, I'm going to start by just kind of reading several of the poems, and then I'm going to share my screen at some point because I have some erasure poems that I want to share that are like very visual as well. So I think it's really helpful to see those as well as be able to hear them. So this is my book. I'm excited about it. It's called Florence, and a lot of it is about helping my mom care for my grandfather who died from dementia. So there's a lot of dementia poems in here, which is part of why the kind of erasure form comes in. I'll talk a little bit more about what that is as well. But I'm going to read the first poem, which is a title poem and explains why the book is called Florence. Florence, May Day, and I've come home a stranger to my grandfather. The school children are twisting tulips from tissue paper and pipe cleaner, pretending they smell like tulips. My grandfather tells me of the bunch of goldenrod he's named Florence because he sees a face in it. Some things, he tells me, I make up for a little joy, but there is no denying what is there. Still, when he leaves home, he kisses the goldenrod goodbye. He tells me he misses her. The children don't leave baskets of tulips on our stoop like they used to. My stranger grandfather asks me where I grew up. Here, in this house, though the kitchen's been ripped out and replaced since I've been away, though the room my sister and I shared was repainted and filled with my grandfather's furniture, placed in the same arrangements as in his house. In his new bedroom, a whole desk to hold one dictionary, a roll top kept over framed pressed flowers, his books glassed in. He keeps to one side of the bed like he's waiting for his wife to end her long day, though she's gone. He no longer knows her name. Now only one imprint in the bed when he rises. The book also, I'll read a few more kind of grandfather poems, as I like to call them, grandfather poems. as we go on, but there's one that I wanted to read that kind of shows how the book interchanges several different themes, largely around kind of identity and trying to figure out like how are we made up of different people essentially in our lives, and what kind of happens when we lose those people, especially to something like dementia, where they're kind of there, that person's there, but not really there anymore. It doesn't have the relationship to you anymore. It's the relationship that's gone. So there's a lot of other poems that are kind of thinking about that human relationship as well. So this one is called Hemoglobin, and it's about getting blood transfusions. The only thing that is maybe helpful to know about this poem is that typically a normal iron count is 12. They give you like a number for it, and the point at which you start to need blood transfusions, your iron count is 9. So that explains like some of the numbers in this poem. Hemoglobin. For 4 months, I lived with 3 different strangers' blood in me. All one night, I watched 3 people drift into my arms. I didn't name them. Then I did. Owen, Gloria, Oliver. I got to know them so well we could communicate. We went through our days together. I sat at cubicle desks with them monotonously typing. Their blood plowed through me. Now I forget all 3, but the signs are coming back. Motion sickness on the bus, dizziness climbing out of the pool. I check them off like a doctor's list. Think, my hemoglobin's probably at 9, now 8. I take iron pills, but think every time about letting my count go back down, letting myself come in and out of the world. Sometimes I want to remember the people whose blood I shared, but my body didn't know it was borrowing from them, who went to the blood clinic, sat in medical chairs, ate cookies, drank orange juice before giving it away. My cells didn't think of ownership. Poor forgotten Gloria, Oliver. My body drank and drank. I have one more grandfather poem here that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm going to share my screen to show a couple of the erasures. Dear love poem, dear memory. I've been writing love poems to my grandfather, who has started to call me the poet, the stranger poet. He remembers the words to the old love songs, sings them from his chair to his stranger daughters, the songs of husbands away at sea, though he doesn't remember that once he was the husband away on a minesweeper, scanning the bottom of the Pacific for leftover bombs, diving into the water, praying they wouldn't blow. I'm writing love poems to the lemmings who hurl themselves into the ocean, not suicide or because everybody's doing it, but because they've eaten the land bare. For my grandfather, I write the family names over and over as they dive into the shallow sea. Leslie, Deborah, your daughter, your daughter. The names bob up from the surface. Anyone can see them for a moment, then watch them drown. And I'm going to share quickly here. I think folks should be able to see this, correct? Okay, good. So this is the poem that I just read, and then I created this erasure version of it. So I started to erase my own get myself into the book a little bit more and try to figure out what it was doing. I didn't anticipate publishing any of the erasures at first, but they fit so well with the theme of the book and this kind of physical erasure happening on the page, the erasure of these memories, that I wanted to leave them in. So I'm just gonna, I think, show and read a couple of these erasures because I know that I'm running out of time here. So this is Dear Love Poem, Dear Memory, erased. My stranger, scanning for leftovers, but bare, over and over for a moment. I like the idea that the shape of the whole poem still kind of exists on the page here, and that kind of idea of playing with white space. I'm going to read, I think, like another pair and then another quick erasure, and then I'll be done. So this one is For My Mother, Afraid of Forgetting. After watching her father forget it all, history seeping out of him like water through two cupped hands, he named a sprig of goldenrod an arbitrary Florence and made way for that name in the space for names, letting go of ours. My mother brought him home, painted the walls pale green for him, balanced his old furniture around the room. He said, "Thank you for rescuing me." My mother says, if this happens to me, shoot me. Or, better yet, take me out to the lake, over the bluff, set me up with a bottle of single malt in the coldest winter, lay me down in some snow cocoon, lay me down if ever I forget your face. And then here's the erased version of that poem. For my mother, afraid of forgetting. He named my mother. He said, the lake, some snow, your face. And then there's one last erasure where that I'm going to read where I kind of put these two poems together. So I'm just kind of scrolling-ish through. You can sort of see them. And I kind of combined these poems, one of which is was already initially about my grandfather, and one of which is an elegy for somebody else that I knew. So thanks for listening, everyone. Elegy / family farm, Maine. He crumbled, or maybe snapped. We pretended the picture together, shared no one, no home, days breaking. His tangles like ivy crawl. I disappeared. I'm circling. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Bess. I realized I forgot to drop your full info in the chat, so it's dropping in here, as well as a link where you can purchase your copy of Florence. As a reminder, I am here both as a editor and a marketer, because poetry books deserve to be in your hands. We are very, thank you again so much, and we are very excited to welcome our next reader, Nora Hikari, a Chinese and Japanese transgender poet and artist based in Philadelphia. She was a 2022 Lambda Literary Fellow, and her work has appeared in Poem a Day, Plowshares, Palette Poetry, Foglifter, and others. She was also a reader at the 2022 Dodge Poetry Festival. Her hybrid fiction, Kiss Me Fast, was featured in Wigleaf Top 50 for 2023. Her first full-length collection, Still My Father's Son, was published by Sundress this year. Her second full-length collection, The Most Holy Day of the Transsexual Calendar, is forthcoming at Game Over Books in winter of 2025. Yay! Nora can be found on Twitter and Instagram at system_wires. I'm going to put all of that in the chat for you. Welcome, Nora.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you everybody for coming. Today I'll be reading some poems from my first book at Sundress, which is Still My Father's Son, which just launched oh gosh, like a month and a half ago now, which is, oh, it's crazy to think that it's already been like that long, and also it feels like it's been, you know, eons since this book was born. So, yeah, thank you for coming, and I will be reading a couple poems for you all. Uh, this poem is titled Notes on a Poem. For some context, the poem is written in an outline note format, but obviously that does not translate well to reading, so we're just going to move on from that. Okay. Notes on a Poem. I am swallowing a poem, praying that it will kill you. The past is a room I cannot reach without a door shaped like a poem. Inside of this room, you are hurting me as a child again. The door opens and I begin my vengeance. The poem sits on my hips, heavy with salvation, beautiful in the way that a well-machined and maintained Beretta M9 is also beautiful, when angled correctly in the right direction. I am building poems to press their muzzles against your temple, muzzle like a dog, temple like a prayer house. A poem can be a prayer. A prayer can be whispered before pulling the trigger. I am doing this all for her. The poem stands tall and proud along its left margin, like the pillars of the temple, with you in the temple with me as I pull these pillars down. Temple, as in the sacrifice-making place. Me with my hair shorn, my eyes gone, my God against your God. Maybe poetry is worthless. Maybe this poem cannot heal, as in do healing, as in itself be healed. Maybe this poem can't kill or love or mother or daughter or son or father. Maybe none of us can save each other. Maybe I can never go back for the girl in the room. That door always locked behind me. Maybe I can never reach her. Maybe I can never go back. Maybe it doesn't matter. The poem begs me to try. The poem is the trying. The poem tries, as in a court of law. The past standing accused, the future standing accusing. The poem calling me to witness. I will tell it how it happened, how I became my own witness, how we became, how myselves became their own witnesses, how myselves and I are witnessing each other, how we fracture along the lines of our telling, splintering like caesuras, begging to be named, the poem as the act of naming, naming as the act of being. I will tell it how it did not happen, how the rain struck glass like a father strikes a daughter, like how a father strikes a son, a daughter, a son. How the angels stood up from my blood and begged, stop, holding their fingers to my throat, pressing each of their fingers against the next one's lips. How it was a kiss. How each of them, they wept. How God was there and not dead and begged, stop, while your hand was raised, holding the knife. Isaac as Isaac, God as God. The poem grips the wrist of the past tight on its wicked way down. The bright arc of death sent clattering, as in, the poem saves my life, is saving my life, will one day save my life. The future blooms like a sakura, beautifully, briefly, beautifully. Opens like a door out of the room of the past. I wrap the girl from the room in the folds of my heart, wrapped in a shock blanket in my arms like a child. Ferry her to deliverance, the river carrying her basket away from a king and his swords, the river offering her a name. The poem ferries the girl into the future. She will survive this. I promise her she will survive this. I promise her this the way I promise her everything, with the poem as a promise. Thank you. Um, this next poem is titled Mother Noun Definition. Mother is a word. Like God, it means something that could have saved you, but chose not to. Thank you. My next poem is titled Imago Dei. Okay. Imago Dei. We cannot help but be sorry. We cannot help but be students of our Father's disciplines. Mine an avid disciple of Scripture and royalty. What else can I confess? That I was a child? I carved myself into the civil shape of a knife, pared until only the edge remained. I killed things because I could. Magnifying glass and the sun, and the silent crawling things that could not fight back, that had no choice but to only hope for mercy, unable themselves to beg. I confess, I was desperate to know I was not alone. Every day we are made once more in the image of God. Every day God asks, cruelty again. And every day we say, O Lord of heaven, please, yes, yes, cruelty again. Thank you. Okay, I've got a few more for you all tonight. Actually, I've got about three more. Um, if I'm good on time. The next poem is Ode to the Sword Logic. Ode to the Sword Logic for Oryx, the taken king. Once I could have loved, but love was cleaved damp from my body, carved soft and wet from the rest of my hard existence, cast aside with everything that could be renamed submission. Power is easy. It costs only cruelty. A sword is not a weapon or a tool. It is an intention. It is the heartful commitment to violence at the cost of identity. A sword is a sword because it refuses to be anything kinder. Anything becomes a sword when it is cruel enough. Anything can be cut if we believe it can be killed. Every morning I rise and pray, God, that I might climb to meet you on the mountain. And every time God responds, come, cut the mountain down. Thank you. I've got two more for you all tonight. I appreciate you coming. This next poem is titled Fireflies. Fireflies. On Hazel, a mother and her children cluster around their garden in the stippled gloaming, giggling through the thick foam of dark. In my second sight, her eyes plunge directly into my skull holes. Is this what you want? Something culpable? The crisp leaves and coming hoarfrost join in the street lamp chorus. Coward, 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 you wish you could write about love. I am not sorry for coveting. It could be anything, and still autumn. The evening quietly gorging itself on the light hours. You can't go back, darling. Only ever through. Flush like a darkroom bulb, red and light and somehow also not. This is the kind of thing we could use. Process, rinse, delicate with air, with light, with the unclasp of the film canister, practiced one-hand twist, vice and verdict, price and pulp, brace for revulsion. Hold your tongue like the throat of a child, fat hilt of your palm pressed against soft kite bones. Enough of the dim fireflies of memory. Enough of their aping, flickered warmth. I'm out for fucking blood. I am out of shame. I want now. This is my last poem for you all tonight. Thank you so much again. An incomplete list of things I have not said to my mother about the mail. Please stop sending me things I love. Because I do love them. I do. And because I am now choosing to survive, I am trying very hard not to love you. Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous, Nora. Thank you so, so much. I loved getting you some of those poems live for the first time. So just amazing. Um, Our next reader is Valerie A. Smith. Valerie is the author of Back to Alabama, which came out from Sundress in 2024. A poignant poetry collection, Back to Alabama is a deep transformative examination of the Black American narrative that explores the complexity of identity, family, womanhood, and religious faith. Smith's poetry takes on a variety of visual and lyrical forms, offering profound insight into the speaker's journey, inviting readers to reflect on the enduring themes of social justice and spirituality. Smith considers her work particularly influenced by the African American artists active from the Harlem Renaissance through the Black Arts movement. Smith has a PhD from Georgia State University and an MA from Kennesaw State University, where she currently teaches English. Above all, she values spending quality time with her family. Find her online at valeriesmithwriter.com. Link is in the chat. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you, Erin. And it's so nice to meet everybody. Good evening, everyone. This is such a wonderful reading. I have a few poems for you from my embattled copy of Back to Alabama. Yes, I'm so just proud of this and so grateful to Sundress for publishing. And thank you, Erin, for everything that you do. So I'm going to start with a couple poems about my grandmother. And there's kind of a running theme in the book that has to do with family and heritage and the multiple migrations of African American people from the South to the North and back. So this is Curly Blue. The blues down south would cut you like a paper mill and let your rotten stink blow all the way north on a hot summer breeze. That's how she left, you know. She was the second oldest of 13, stocky as a sawed-off shotgun, red hair, freckles, and plump green eyes that traced an unretraceable line. When I met her, she was Sunday dressed in a full-length cashmere coat and matching camel-colored hat. The wide brim over her right eye leaned into each heavy stride. Legend has it, she snatched a black snake out an oak tree in mid-conversation and ripped his head off in the street. She gripped my hand and pulled a knife one night. We stayed too late at Menlo Park Mall and had to walk out the service exit. I was just tall enough to see the blade flash in the corner of my eye. Her anointed hands could rub a rash clean and make me believe the blues were always one bitter snuff can away from spitting out the truth. And this next one just follows that journey. Curly raised the blues in a North Jersey brownstone, its cellar door alarmed with tin cans. Her blue china shined with impeccable taste. She was there baking fresh biscuits and gravy when the blues escaped the South on buses and trains. Her home became a depot for young siblings to be raised with her only son. She taught him to read and never laid a hand on him. She put her brothers on big rigs and married her sisters to affable men. Me and all my second cousins swam in her above-ground pool, ate watermelon at the picnic table, kicking pincher bugs off our toes. When I lost hold of her dog and chased him around the city block, she sent me to the yard for a switch, but she couldn't bear to use it. She'd rather lick her thumb to catch the Bible's thin pages with a shotgun under her bed and harlequins in the attic. And this follows that trajectory just a little bit more, but more towards the next generation, my generation, returning from the North back to the South. This is the title poem, Back to Alabama. No one wants to fall, excuse me, I'm sorry. Back to Alabama. No one wants to go back to fall in love with rebellion. She is a debutante dressed in white. She has plans to keep her man in Alabama, no matter how he comes. It's always from the north through Chattanooga or from the east over the Appalachians, a monster sleeping on its side, elbow up in New Hampshire, hips sloped at Kentucky, bumpy thighs and knees knotty all the way to Birmingham. No one wants to ride that dragon again, not even for a wife and 2 children, pride and reparation. Debutante is going to have to find her way back by herself, back home where tornadoes play hopscotch on a soft side of Montesano. The kids grow like weeds. They defy all odds. They have no rebellion. They have no plans for reconstruction. They float around like hoverflies in the mountain valley breeze. At dusk, they wander towards the light. And here we go, back to Alabama, where great-grandfather's farm is grown over to a ramshackle color of possum fur, a shadow leaning in the evergreen, where headstones sink in moss covered with broken pecan shells, the fresh ones and the rotten ones, black as soot. The next poem, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of go ekphrastic with you. I do like this poem. This poem is about a painting that ebbs and flows in its popularity, or in its notoriety, I would say. This is called The Sugar Shack. The artist's name is Ernie Barnes. He has 2 versions of this painting. He was an NFL player, and he was actually commissioned as an artist for the NFL. And we know this, or a lot of my generation knows this painting from the title montage of the television show Good Times. This is The Sugar Shack, Ernie Barnes, 1971. Ernie says, eyes closed. Feel this funky bass bottom blue. Big Daddy Rucker on that sway belly sax. 2 hands trumpet, blowing the air out this joint. Preacher man got the spirit, lean back on the mic. Old Pop Porter sitting by his bottle, thinking on ways he used to grab them gals by the hips. Same old news. Sophisticated white dress sings the blues. Lean in, red dress, lean out, breathe. Denim slacks, derby hat, moan and groan. Not 1 square foot without an upturned foot. Not 1 plank board without a pump. All this brown skin moving, brown fingers feeling, all this electric light shining. Bald heads, says Ernie. Let us be thinking, skeletal, human, heads high. Let us be open and closed-mouthed, ecstasy and existential. Let us be bountiful, double round bottom, yellow daisy. Let us be bosom and backbone, womb and man. Let us take each other one-handed. Ernie says, all my muscles necessary. Sinews, stretch and bend past work, work, work all week, week, week. Show more of us in our shirt sleeves, limp with sweat. Snap and tap, rise and dip. And if you can feel it, you know fat mama up there giving Shady Slim the you know what about it. And if you don't know what we doing, you ain't grown enough to get in. Celebrate her thighs, Ernie says. We are the Black arts moving. I've got a couple more. Just make sure that they're not too long. This one, I like this poem, and I just like the process of using poetry to process things that I can't figure out. And for this poem, I just couldn't figure out why there wasn't enough being said or done about this particular situation. And this is, You Mad Brittany Griner is Free. 1, because Black. 2, because she. 3, because she Black. 4, because she Black, because she wife. 5, because she Black, because she wife, because she hoop. 6, because she Black, because she wife, because she dunk, because she tatted up. 7, because free black, because wife free, because free throw, because free ink, because she tall. 8, because she light, because she wife, because she net, because she ink, because she height, because she locked up. 9, because she black, because she wife, because she block, because she ink, because she stature, because she twist, because she paid. 10, because black, because wife, because post, because paint, because tall, because lock and key, because paid, because right. 11, because she gold, because she wife, because she fly, because she art, because she high top, because she fade, because she paid, because she right, because she out. 12, because she black, because she wife, because she pass, because she ink, because she tall, because she fade, because she paid, because she right, because she out, because she black. 13, because she Brittany, because she is, because she free. And this last poem is kind of an introduction to myself, but it is the last poem of the collection. So I figured I'd end with a small introduction of myself, and especially since it rained today, but it's always raining in Atlanta. Okay. Rain on a September morning. It's early and it's been raining for hours. The dog sniffs the door and whimpers. No one wakes up. No one will walk him. This poem has been raining in me for days, weeks, maybe even months. I love laughing, but I'm just as likely to side-eye. What's with all the rain? I'm all trauma and long memory, gaps between raindrops, the blue dot on radar, watching green, yellow, orange, red, all the colors of rain come my way. What kind of poet are you? A mentor asked. Since then, I've been sitting upright, waiting for the rain to tell me. I'm the black rain experience, a late bloomer hiding beside a basket of clothes, rubbing Nacho's backside with my foot. Studying for the exams has taught me more about rain than I wanted to know. It's romantic how God made me to notice the trees and rain. Where would I be without stanzas to enter and leave in the rain? Each line is a little couch where a few words sit next to each other, wondering what will happen when their knees touch. I spent the last 2 months without a woman on my study schedule. Everything I know about Black poets, I have taught myself between thunder and light. This is how I come in from the rain. I close my eyes and imagine I'm manageable. Thank you all for having me. Thank you.
Valerie, always such a pleasure to hear your work. That was amazing. Just always, always a joy. Thank you again. Our next reader is Asa Drake. Asa is a Filipino white poet in Central Florida. She is the author of Maybe the Body, forthcoming from Tin House Press next year, and Beauty Talk, forthcoming from Noemi Press next year. Very exciting, which is the winner of the 2024 Noemi Press Book Award. Her chapbook, One Way to Listen, was published from Goldline Press and is the winner of the 2023 Florida Book Award. A National Poetry Series finalist, she is the recipient of fellowships and awards from the 92Y Discovery Poetry Contest, Storyknife, Sundress Publications, Tin House, and Idyllwild Arts. Her poems can be found in the Slowdown Podcast, the American Poetry Review, and Poetry Daily. I'm going to drop her, both her link to purchase her broadside, but also link to the website where I am sure you can find all the pre-order information from those amazing books when they come out next year. So welcome, Asa.
Thank you, Erin, for hosting us in this beautiful online space. As you've heard, I have new books coming out or first books coming out, so I'll be reading mostly new poems, and I think for most of these poems, you're my first audience. If I allow you to look into my blameless disaster, who do you look away from? Distinguish ordinary uncertainty from concerning uncertainty. These feelings are interchangeable, but what about meaningful uncertainty? Passive. My skin breaks out at the beginning of each season. Passive. I read my insurance policy and feel some sense of safety as possible. Between storm surge videos, my father-in-law sleeps with fluorescent life vests, which, like persimmons, are in season. Unlike persimmons, their bright vermilion floats. I test this. A persimmon sinks in my water glass. I talk to a friend late into the night before the internet cuts off. No one can tell me why my father-in-law stayed until the bridges closed and his couch floated out to sea. The past tense would make us look foolish, faith attenuated like silk. Do I need to tell you how strong this fabric is or how it was rendered from sleeping bodies? It's difficult to name anyone in this kind of production scheme, but rendering generally refers to sustained heat and the extraction of organic elements. So much happens while I'm asleep. I'm almost 40, I tell friends who are 40, so they can open for me a 5-year window of productivity. Under the calyx of a persimmon, I find unwanted surprises. I should say I am joining you all from Florida, and these are mostly Florida poems. So bear with me. There's beautiful things here, but also horrible things here. After Florida's 6-week abortion ban takes effect, the mail courier comes to the door to say she's been watching the peach tree for weeks. So I give her the fruit I'm most jealous of, a friend's analysis. You gave up a responsibility, I think, or you gave away your vice. Now it's delivered. It's early May. I pick peaches in the dark by smelling the red cheek. I think I could have kids like this. Probably the most mundane thing to do in early summer. Everything right now feels heavier than it looks, and that's how I know it's time to eat. I take fruit to the airport to sweeten my appeal, but really, I distribute the raw fruit so I don't have to plan for the future. The airport is on the other side of the forest. When I drive through at 4 a.m., I can't distinguish the treetops from the night sky, so the trees take on an impossible height. I count 15 deer before I stop counting. The most terrifying deer are the ones in motion. Doesn't matter if they're moving away from the road or towards it. Afternoon in the cemetery. Under low lowly pines. I don't believe in hallowed ground, but I like that border control doesn't come here. A friend calls it smelling season. I'm staring at the fat eagle's nest because I would like an illegal feather when a woman's dog growls at my arrangement low in the grasses. She says her dog never barks, so I avert my eyes from the fledglings above, like a secret just past the blackberry's 5-pointed star. I could love this place if I didn't know the reason for it. Under cherry blossoms, I'm a tourist. I debate whether the citizen star on my ID is sufficient so close to the border. In the end, I don't board a ferry to cross. I touch the end of my hairpin to feel secured by what's expensive. I text a loved one on the other end of the sound. Maybe I write an apology, though to whom it's too early to tell. To a friend I had met. Given a second opportunity, I'd record all my English in italics, a formal decentering to ensure my mother's speech is Roman. The alternative document would offer a shared experience, a poem that's of the world, but a world that's better for me. Of course you don't love it. Under coastal redwoods, perhaps a poem can be better than the world because of my obsessions. On weekends after Mom bought her first house, we'd watch The Crow, a movie in which the star is Asian and white. My mother liked to point out which characters I could grow into. Not the crow, she'd tell me after Brandon Lee's last scene. I wonder how it is for others. Mothers say, come visit, Lovers say, come home. Enemies say, go home. The line I remember from the movie is not central to the story. And I have two more, I think. All conversations that make their way into disaster fail to uphold the stakes of living. Even conversations about disaster. I order stationery when shipping throughout the Southeast is fucked. I resist making an offer of housing to unhoused in-laws, but I invite a friend off the internet to live with me. When the county announces a no-flush zone, everyone has work through another state and a teammate who hasn't the bandwidth for another delay. Someone's toddler rejoices from her temporary reprieve from the toilet. She pees all day in the grass. I had not imagined a God gaze separate from a Eurocentric gaze. Wine and cake are plentiful. At the party, everyone takes turns in the self-driving car which attempts to overcome sand dunes and appliances along the assigned route. The beach is closer than ever and what we all love. Even now, someone admits, the world we don't safeguard probably stays. And this last one is my broadside from Sundress Publication, which is beautiful. And I apologize if you know my mom. This is what everyone is getting this year as a gift. Field notes beginning with a dish of calamai. Love to eat the food brought to me while sulking. Just a tiny bit sticky and bitter. Hanane explains love as a matter of direction. Who brings the food to me? Who carries it? And for how long? How old can I be before I must become apologetic? Yesterday, visiting a new province, I saw a small sea snake and thought I would see it again today. Milky blue with black stripes. Its small and venomous mouth is waiting for someone more insistent or more delicious. I like to report the animals, nurse shark, water centipede, sea cucumber, and have them translated back to me. This year, I joined 30% of conversations in the language they're spoken in. I want to maintain a safe distance. Isn't there a posture to say, I miss you, don't come any closer? Thank you.
So beautiful, Asa. I love all of this. I'm so excited for the new books. And just, it was really a joy getting to hear that poem, the final poem aloud. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm having the best time. Our next reader is Stevie Redwood. Stevie Redwood is a disabled, Toisanese, Jewish neuroinsurgent, introvert, homo trash, little dreamer, big mouth bitch living and dying in Frisco. They're unimpressed by scene queers, artifice, and pacifism. They're fond of shit talk, porch sitting, leaf litter, and riffraff. They dream of a liberated Palestine, maps without borders, and a different end of the world. Welcome, Stevie.
Hey, all. Thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to all the readers. Thank you, Erin. Can people hear me okay? Okay, I'm having all kinds of tech issues and things were okay until a minute ago, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I'm gonna read. I think I'm gonna start with this. I wasn't gonna read it, but I guess I'll read it and then I'll explain. But I wrote it about a month ago. It's called Nature Poem. Yeah. Nature Poem. What's left of the pigeon is sealed inside a plastic bag, inside a plastic bag, inside our walk-up trash bin. Vein blue gloves peeled shiny side out. Evidence of me stamped on every rubber finger. By the time I'd arrived there was only aftermath. The hawks wrote carnage, severed heart, smooth carmine, wet windows into soft scarlet insides. Meat snarl of slick viscera, scaly foot fixed into stillness, wings stiff and stuffed inside a soft, pale halo of down 3 sinuous stories of stairs. I did not think of bird flu, but the air twitched with stink, and night was waking the foragers. I moved the grave off our welcome mat. My neighbors saw everything, the struggle a long gauntlet between wild things. Talon and tail feather, swoop and flap, fight and flight simulation. A migrating grappling, thick gristly flap of sinew against hardwood planks. A rasp of claws, the grasp of battle, gasps a gurgled death rattle. What looked just like an embrace. What had been a warm body turned into carcass, heat leached and weeping. Scatter of feathers, spatter of marrow. Tomorrow's dull arrow of nevers. Sharp absence of head, heart without chamber, blood without motive, without all warning, without. I wrote that sort of in an attempt, I think, to process like grief that it actually happened, but also I think it was kind of, as Valerie was alluding to, it was like something that helped me process grief in a way that felt a little bit safer to touch than like processing grief about human death. But part of why I read it is that today that neighbor told me what I had suspected, which is that her husband passed away 2 weeks ago. So it's definitely on my mind. He lived a long life. He lived till 90, but yeah, so just holding her in my heart. And my computer's really freaking. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna read something that feels always difficult, but I think especially topical right now. And just for context, for people who don't know, the word allistic refers to people who are not autistic. Okay. Autistic people have fewer brain cells and more brain synaptic connections than allistic people do, aka the childhood dendrite pruner prefers to get on allistic people's nerve, aka the cellular topiarist is sometimes a taxidermist, so now I hoard even synapses, aka I overcommunicate. I Google symptoms of neurotypicality and, surprise, nothing comes up. In the absence, I am denied an opportunity to sharpen myself against a negative. I am denied the process of self-elimination. I become a deficit of someone else's definition. I have forever been perverse. I perseverate, reverse the aesthetics of cognition, observe vigilantly, diligently from the bottom up, call it hypervision. Diagnostics are reserved for the pathological subject. I swerve on a path object, me the unstoppable force. As a child, I could not mask often enough to skirt villainy. As a rule, I did not understand what was happening. As a consequence, I was punishing. As a consequence, I was punished. As a consequence, I am exhausted. Compared to allistics, autistics have extra neurons in our amygdalas, where fear is made. AKA our nervous systems are superlatively nervous. All of this is true. You should know I cannot lie. You should know I don't want you to touch me if I'm not initiating. If you know me and you don't know I'm autistic, you should know that you don't know me very well. Ask me how I'm doing, I will come undone. Ask me how I know. That last statement was rhetorical, though I am generally literal, though I am from California. Oh, sorry, having a computer problem. According to the Library of Medicine, California has the third largest autistic population in the so-called United States. According to the lexicon of the US's third largest so-called state, that means autistic people are literally everywhere. We are not literally everywhere. We are, however, literal wherever we are. Research says, on average, autistics have comparatively fewer brain cells in problem-solving neighborhoods of our cerebral cortices. Research says, on average, we solve problems comparatively faster by 40%. Logic follows, having fewer brain cells does not mean what eugenics claim it means. Preferential pruning gifts autistics more synaptic gossip, meaning we are overstimulated and underestimated with similar consistency. The emergent neuroscientific field dealing in neuronal dialectics is called connectonomics. Connectonomics is a neuroscientific neologism I despise, but I am interested in its interest in a communistic understanding of the animal brain. Ed Yong says science says consciousness is the progeny of proficient processing power of a nervous system. I say that sounds like something science would say. Marx says human consciousness arises from the necessity of intercourse with other humans. I say that sounds like something a communist might say to seduce someone into common communist consciousness. I do not know what a scientific or a Marxist consciousness says of who has greater consciousness, autistics or allistics. I only know we are more honest. Honestly, honesty makes it hard to keep a job, but I truly don't desire to learn to lie. I don't desire to be less deviant. I am, again, perverse. Don't mistake me for diverse, for divergent. If I have to wet against the norm, I insist on being perverted. No more of the precious pretense, no less than we deserve. I'll read one last poem that's from a book that was published last Noemi Press. It's called Intifada. Of my computer, but this is also a very like local. It has references to some stuff in the Bay Area, which is it's called From Every Campus to Every and I read it before the Student Intifada, so there isn't anything about that. During money-grubbing land grabs for the wealthy University of California, Berkeley, the 1,400 riot cops who waited till the ghost campus of winter break on top of the people, bulldozers just like the ones ravaging Gaza, and an appetite for whatever poor people can make, and a border of double-stacked freight containers that maybe once ferried arms from the bowels of Boeing warehouses to the port of, quote, Tel Aviv, looked just like the riot cops who took 57 bullets to murder Tortuguita sat cross-legged, hands up, in a tent in Weelaunee Forest, where the state still aims to build a repression training center for riot cops from Atlanta and Berkeley and Chicago and Detroit, featuring soldiers of the IOF, and Albit Systems is already rubbing their palms. The riot cops who pointed rifles into the People's Park community kitchen are continually well-fed and bloated with the reproductive fruits of the underpaid labor of cafeteria workers from the University of California, endowed in the 1860s by profits from the business of pillaging indigenous land. 1862's Moral Act, gave a present to the future of public higher education in the shape of 11 million acres that belonged to someone else. Killing people for funding to be mined from other people's homelands has long been the logic of empire. It isn't a secret, and it isn't new news. People come to the cargo container border wall, swaddled in keffiyehs, clutching signs that yell, "Long live the Intifada." And we have not won yet, but we will.
Stevie, always a pleasure. Thank you, as always, for your words. Just beautiful, wonderful. Thank you all. So we're at our final reader for tonight. Our final poet is Tatiana Johnson-Boria, who is the author of Nocturne and Joy, which came out with Sundress in 2023 and was the winner of the 2024 Julia Ward Howe Book Prize in Poetry. As an educator, artist, facilitator, and mother, she uses her writing practice to dismantle racism, reckon with trauma, cultivate healing, and explore the complex magic of mothering. She has received fellowships and awards from Tin House, the Massachusetts Cultural Council, MacDowell, the Brother Thomas Fellowship, and St. Botolph's Club Foundation, among others. Tatiana teaches at Grub Street and has been on the faculty of Emerson College, among other institutions. Her work appears or is forthcoming in the Academy of American Poets, Plowshares, Kenyon Review Online, and more. She is represented by Lauren Scoville at the Laura Gross Literary. Welcome, Tatiana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Erin. And thank you for organizing this reading and for all the readers. It's so wonderful to be here. I can't believe it was 2023 that book came out. I also had a baby that year, so it feels like a blur. So So I actually don't even have the book up here with me, and I'm also not going to be reading any poems from that book. I'm going to be reading some new poems that I have not gotten a chance to read aloud. So thank you all for listening and making the space to hear them. I have been thinking a lot about childhood, especially watching another child develop. My son is 2 years old now and feels so much like a kid, and I just find myself being, I don't know, quantum, like time warped into moments of my own childhood and witnessing him. And so I want to read poems just about that in various ways. And I've been also beginning a lot of the readings I've gotten to do with poems by other poets that I've been meditating on. And so I want to start with a poem by a Syrian poet whose pen name is Adonis, and full name is Ali Ahmad Said Esmer. And this poem was translated from Arabic from Libyan poet Khaled Matawa, and it's called Celebrating Childhood. I'm going to share screen just for people who like to read along or for accessibility. So I will do that. Ooh. Okay. And just hopefully everyone can see. Celebrating childhood. Even the wind wants to become a cart pulled by butterflies. I remember madness leaning for the first time on the mind's pillow. I was talking to my body when, and then in my body was an idea I wrote in red. Red is the sun's most beautiful throne, and all the other colors worship on red rugs. Night is another candle in every branch and arm, a message carried in space, echoed by the body of the wind. The sun insists on dressing itself in fog. When it meets me, am I being scolded by the light? Oh, my past days, they used to walk in their sleep, and I used to lean on them. Love and dreams are two parentheses. Between them, I place my body and discover the world. Many times I saw the air fly with two grass feet and the road dance with feet made of air. My wishes are flowers, staining my days. I was wounded early, and early I learned that wounds made me. I still follow the child who still walks inside me. Now he stands at a staircase made of light, searching for a corner to rest in and to read the face of night again. If the moon were a house, my feet would refuse to touch its doorstep. They are taken by dust, carrying me to the air of seasons. I walk one hand in the air, the other caressing tresses that I imagine. A star is also a pebble in the field of space. He alone who is joined to the horizon can build new roads. A moon, an old man, his seat is night, and light is his walking stick. What shall I say to the body I abandoned in the rubble of the house in which I was born? No one can narrate my childhood except those stars that flicker above it and that leave footprints on the evening's path. My childhood is still being born in the palms of a light whose name I do not know and who names me. Out of that river, he made a mirror and asked it about his sorrow. He made rain out of his grief and imitated the clouds. Your childhood is a village. You will never cross its boundaries, no matter how far you go. His days are lakes, his memories floating bodies. You who are descending from the mountains of the past, how can you climb them again, and why? Time is a door I cannot open. My magic is worn, my chance asleep. I was born in a village, small and secretive like a womb. I never left it. I love the ocean, not the shores. So I'm just going to read a few poems, again, that I wrote kind of as lines throughout the wild journey of fertility to giving birth to postpartum. And so this poem, as a content warning, mentions miscarriage. On Mother. They burst from your dark coop, and here they nest in mine. Ivy Francis, A Kind of Emancipation. Sparrows echo muted darkness, still empty this womb. I am willing it, my body rather, to work, to perform, its daily miracles and more, to surprise, to stun a new dimension. What I am asking, small and impossible, trivial, selfish. I am writing a poem about a miscarriage and it feels dramatic, confessional. I won't mention the blood, how its presence bore a new grief. Instead, I remember sparrows, the birds I heard the morning I thought you were inside of me. Their sounding calls, the voice I felt I heard. This poem is about intrusive thoughts that apparently after you give birth can really ramp up. Intrusive thoughts replaced with water, in which he falls from my arms into the holy cove of the sea, in which his breathing stops and becomes a gulf I cuddle into, in which my breasts offer milk blue of my own blood, in which the kitchen knives are islands the shore of our bodies crash into, in which my body swallows him and he becomes me again, in which I am a failed mother and the baby becomes a memory, in which the deluge of my mind is a current I cannot swim against, in which the sea is the only reprieve for my thinking, in which he knows nothing of the person who has birthed him, in which what I thought I knew about birthing turns to brine, in which I let him go for the rivers to carry him, in which he disappears before I've even held him, in which the depth of me is a harbor billowing, the salt of his skin but a shadow on sand. I think I just have two more. This is, again, thinking about childhood and also realizing repressed memories that I didn't know, well, that I probably knew were there, but I was not thinking about, and how some of those have come forth. So this poem is about that. The father tells the adult daughter, none of that ever happened. Mine, what was left to me without having asked. Gift, burden, residual, anxious voice, blank spots in the brain, a memory that eats at itself, a tightness within the chest, a sweaty palm clasping ice. Stark temperatures can regulate what the body slips into. The child is still there, spectral innocence, memorizing the sun's glare against the television. The shadows of the afternoon make way for evening, where the child's mother smokes a cigarette out of the screenless window, where the fumes swallow the sickle of her spine, her eyes gazing away, 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 where the child feels her mother's desire, the leaping she wished for. And this is just the last poem. I've been reading a lot of Mary Oliver, and this is inspired by a line from Wild Geese. Poem for the absence of childhood. You don't have to be good, she said, but you must believe this against a bitter winter, amid stark trees and seasons harsh and desolate. Memories huddle under snow, almost forgotten, eclipsed by blankets of weather unceasing. Life is as circuitous as the dissolving breath of your body, reincarnate, exhales brought you to growing into adulthood, with the fallacy of knowing anything at all, and the knowing you once had, although born in a brutal time, bore a mind that could look out the window and draw up landscapes, careening possibility. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. One more, it's amazing. I love the new work. I'm so excited about all of that. And I'm just, a big round of applause for all of our readers tonight.